Hi, good afternoon, Misha. Thank you for allowing us the space. My name is Antonio Eres. I work for the SNAP policy team. And I was going to give a couple of updates in regards to the SNAP program, things that are happening this month, and things that we are hoping you can help us spread the message on and help with um, clarifying information to people who want to access SNAP services. So the first part I'm going to start is with the updates regarding the ABOT work requirements. So as we have been mentioning, these requirements restarted this month. So July 2021, Oregon Employment Department started offering services to individuals who wish to receive case management and support services so that they can complete the hours that they are asked to do. Those who are not participating are beginning to see notices regarding countable months. And just as a quick reminder, countable months are any time a person receives a full month of SNAP benefits without having completed the work requirements. And so individuals in the counties listed in the slide would be the ones that would be receiving countable months. I also want to remind this group that we are using discretionary exemptions in these other counties so that individuals who are not meeting the work requirements do not accrue countable months. This is in a strategic effort because of the workload created of restarting the new work requirements. And then finally, I do want to remind that we did apply for a partial waiver as we were no longer eligible for a full statewide waiver. And 22 counties and tribal lands are being waived from restarting the work requirements. And these are waived through the end of December 2023, at which point we would restart a new waiver, and that will depend on what the data tells us. I also wanted to remind this group of the changes that are happening because of the debt ceiling. And so next slide, please. And these changes, they are being phased in. They change what we have been using as a definition of having an ABOT status. And again, as a reminder, individuals with no minor children in their SNAP filing group who are currently between the ages of 18 through 49, so not yet 50, are subject to the work requirements. But this will change effective September 1st, as the age range will be increased through 50-year-olds, and then again the following month to include those who are 18 through 52. And we'll see one final change next year in October, where the age range will be increased through 54. So once we have guidance of how Oregon will be implementing this change, we'll be sharing that with this group along with those who are impacted. I do want to remind people though that that not all the changes impact people in a negative way. If we can go to the next slide, we are being allowed to use 3 new exemption reasons, and so that we are able to share that, so that you can help us share that information. I'm going to go through them one by one. So the first one is former foster care youth. So individuals who are under the age of 25 who were previously in foster care when they turned 18. So regardless of who was administering the program that they were in, are eligible for an exemption. So these individuals would not be subject to the work requirements. Veterans, so individuals who served in one of the U.S. Armed Forces, regardless of the condition of release and including the reserves, are exempt from the work requirements. And finally, those who are individuals who are experiencing homelessness. So again, this is a broad definition. It includes individuals who lack a fixed or regular nighttime residence, or whose primary nighttime residence is a shelter, halfway house, or place not to be meant for regular sleeping. In addition, those who are seeking or receiving temporary accommodation at someone else's home for no more than 30 days, for no more than 90 days, are eligible for this exemption. So one thing that we're asking this group is to share these new exemption reasons. If someone has been told that they are subject to the work requirements, as these are new exemptions, we do not have them in our system. We are working in some of these to get that information automated, but until that happens, we are requesting that you share this information with those who have received letters about having an ABOT status and needing to meet the work requirements. So before I go on to the next topic, I want to pause, and I wasn't sure, Misha, if we were allowing questions right now or at the end.
Absolutely. Does anybody have any questions for Antonio about what he shared so far?
I do. Is it okay to interrupt?
Yes,
absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry. So does that mean, Antonio, does that mean that the notices that are going out don't list these new exemptions? Like the notice saying, hey, we're counting these months. You only have this many months left until you're time limited from getting benefits. Does it not list homelessness and veterans, et cetera?
That is correct. The reason being is that these changes are not effective until the month of September. So until we update that information in our notices, that information is not being shared with individuals. But then again, the changes come together. The new age increase and the new exemption reasons, we are required to start implementing them in September.
Oh my God.
But we are when people are calling us in with the new, so the notices that we have sent out are asking people to contact our ABOT team. When they make that connection with our ABOT team, they are being screened for these three new exemptions. So however they are connecting with us, we are capturing them in the system.
Could you, I'm so sorry, I'm terrible with numbers, but I thought we weren't even counting months towards your 3-month time limit until July. Is that right? So
well, we started this month. So the month of July. Yep. These are two separate changes. So let me back up again. Can I go back to the slide that has the age ranges?
Can I ask you the question though, and then it might change your answer.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm just thinking, practically speaking, isn't it true that nobody should get terminated? Like nobody could get terminated until the month of September anyway, July, August, because that would be the first time you could have the 3 months up. Right. And then by September, these changes will have gone into effect. And so people who have one of these categories, whether it be age 50 or be a veteran or be fall under the new expanded definition of homeless, at that point they shouldn't be terminated because those exemptions and the new age limit will be in effect, right?
So I'm not sure I'm following your question, but let me try to rephrase what I said in the slide. So right now, the current definition of ABOT is anyone who's 18 through 49 with no minor children in the home, right? And we have a list of regular exemptions that we have been applying. So anyone that has met those exemption reasons, up until we found out this change, we've been applying, screening for those exemption reasons. You are correct that July is the first month. If someone doesn't meet the work requirements, would be the first countable month. Then August and September. so benefits would be closed for this group as it currently stands in October. So what I'm asking for help is that based on the federal the debt ceiling changes, we are being allowed to use 3 new exemption reasons, while at the same time we're increasing the age ranges. So the changes must be applied starting September, but we are allowed to capture the new exemption reasons if we can before that time period. So our system is going to be updated with the new changes, which include the age ranges and the new exemption reasons. But until then, we're asking people to help us out and spread the word that these are 3 new exemption reasons, because we didn't know about the exemption reasons and what the definitions were going to be. We have not been including them in notices that we have been sending them out, because these notices were created prior to this change. So by law, we have to start adding the new reasons in September and start applying them in September. But we are trying to get ahead of that by collecting them from anyone that contacts us. So whenever someone contacts us with because of the old note, or not the old notices, but the original notices, we are asking our staff to screen them for the new exemptions. So all the changes are effective in September or starting September, but we're trying to get ahead of that, of those changes by starting to collect the information that we are able to collect right now. So notices that in the future that we sent out about this, we will be including the new exemption reasons and the new age ranges. But until we get everything updated, we're trying to do what we can to collect that information.
Can you just confirm for me, Antonio, that you won't be starting in September, you won't be even if you sent someone a notice saying you're going to get terminated and September will be your last month, if in September they're 50, you won't be terminating them though, because they'll automatically, like, they won't have to call you to say I'm 50, you shouldn't terminate me, right?
So starting, yeah, so you're right, we're working with 2 different timelines. The new groups will be starting to accumulate countable months in September, October, November. At least that's the intent of this change in policy. So the new age range will apply then, and technically that's when countable months will be starting. Like I said, we're still working on figuring out how this is going to play out in Oregon, and every single state is going through that, because everybody has different timelines that they're working with in how they can get that information updated in their systems. But we are all working in the same timeline, that this is what the federal government is telling us to do, that by September we need to start screening for this new group of people for these expanded definition.
We have a couple of questions in chat, Antonio, and then I see Jessica has her hand up as well. Nicole asks, what about in regard to youth under age 18?
So people who are under the age of 18 are not, do not have an ABOT status. They are minors and therefore are not subject to the work requirements for ABOT.
And then Annie says, do you know what date the new exemptions will be added to ODHS SNAP web pages so that we can direct people there?
Yeah, and that is one of the things that we're working through updating. So like I said, there's a checklist of items that we need to be, that we're working to get updated. So notices, websites, the system. And so but we're trying to get everything updated as soon as we can to provide people with the information. And of course, one of the recommendations that our federal partners make is to share that with our state partners, state agencies, and that's this. We're trying to do this through this meeting and meetings like this. And like I mentioned, whenever someone contacts our ABOT team, they are being screened for these exemptions as well.
And then Jessica, I think, is next.
Yes, hi, Antonio. Jessica Sargent, she, her, hers. So I had a couple of questions. One, so I just want to make sure I'm hearing correctly. So people who are in our ABOD have not received notice that these changes are going to happen. And that's kind of why you're presenting here.
So
is what I'm hearing, right? They won't.
Those, yeah. So we barely received this mandate in the month of June, and we
Okay.
got clarification in the month, this month, July, at the beginning of July. And actually today we received a Q&A from the feds, which I just saw in my inbox. I just received it probably half an hour ago. So we're getting the information from the feds, and we're trying to do our best to get that information updated into the system, because they are clarifying how it is that SNAP needs to implement these changes. So to answer your question, yes and no. Yes, we have sent notices. We sent notices back in April and sent notices back in June to people who were being subject to the time limit starting July. We are working on getting the information out, and we're going to be figuring out. So we're working through the process of how we're going to notify the new group of people who are going to be subject to these changes.
Okay. And so in the one system, it has a function where you can check the box for household, your not household, but like residency, where if you are unhoused, you check that box and it does its own thing in the system. So if that's already in the system, when you update these exemptions and changes to do what it needs to do, right, in the one system, will those individuals still receive like the notification, or will they need to do anything, or will the system know to just leave their SNAP benefits alone because of that exemption rule or rules?
So we're still working through the system changes and how we're going to make them work. We're hoping that we can incorporate some of the information that it's already captured in the questions that are currently being asked, and see how we can leverage that to apply the exemptions. But again, because of how new this information and these changes are, we're still working on how this is going to be added to the one system, and so that will be the intent. But I cannot speak to how it's going to work, because we haven't gone through the process of meeting with our contractor and going through the changes one by one as to how we're going to add this information. But
Okay.
that will be the intent, I think.
Okay. And then this is a big question. You might not know the answer, but why the increase in age over the years?
That's my understanding is that this was a compromise between the left and the right. The age original increase, I believe, proposed was up to 59, and the compromise was to do it to 54 or under 55. And that's, I mean, this was part of,
Okay.
that is my understanding at a very high level. Otherwise, as to the details of how they came up with your guess would be as good as mine.
Got it. Thank you so much. I appreciate that info.
Yeah. All right, I'll go move on to the next slide. Another thing that we had talked about in previous meetings is about the ability to replace benefits because of electronic theft. And I want to review this information because I want to make a reminder about another thing that we're able to replace. So as I mentioned in previous meetings, benefits stolen due to electronic theft can be replaced. Individuals have 30 days from the date that they discovered the theft to make this request. We have a form in our form server that has the information, but people are not required to use the form. They can call us in and provide us with the information. I want to highlight that the amount to be replaced is either 2 times their SNAP allotment the month prior to the theft. So if I receive $100 in the month of July and my benefits are stolen in August, then 2 times 100 would be $200. So that's what that first bullet point means. Or the actual amount that was stolen. So if I was stolen $300, then because 2 times 100 is lesser than the $300 actually stolen, the amount we were allowed to replace is 200. If I lost $150 instead of the 100 times 2, the 150 would be the amount replaced. So whichever is the lesser of the 2 amounts. On the next slide, I want to remind that we are also able to replace benefits. I'm sorry, I missed this slide. And this is the information that we need from people when they make a report. You know, we need their statement, we need the date that the electronic fraud was discovered, and the amount that they're requesting, so the amount that they lost. And we need a signature from an adult member in the case or their authorized representative. And I want to remind people that we can receive the signature through different methods. Again, people can call us, they can visit an office, or they can send their request in writing. Next slide, please. So I wanted to use that previous slides to contrast with the ability to replace benefits lost because a household went through a misfortune. And by that, if someone experienced either a power outage or their home was impacted by a different kind of misfortune, if they lost if they lost food, the food was damaged because of the misfortune, we're able to replace it if they let us know within 10 days of having experienced that loss. Again, the form to provide the information is the same as a reference, but again, they can make the request over the phone and we'll be able to take the information needed. So I want to highlight that the 10 days is a big difference. So 30 days for electronic theft, 10 days for household misfortunes. So before I move on, any questions?
Looks like Jessica has a question.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm full of questions. Sorry there, Antonio. So I know this is probably like an obvious question, but with this information coming out, is all staff across the state aware of all these changes? And when did this take effect? Just because I recently visited an office and overheard a situation where they were telling them that there was a process and gave them like some kind of form to fill out, which I'm assuming is maybe like the 349D form, and then was told to do that form and then kind of left it alone. But what I'm seeing here is that they can call the 1-800 number, they can go into an office, they don't have to fill out a form, they just need to speak with a worker, and that can be in the storefront office as well as through over the phone, correct?
Correct. So
Okay.
the form is a template that they can use to guide the information that is required. but as long as they provide the information needed in any way that, we'll try to fulfill the request. And again, our effort or our intentions is that people who work and are taking these calls know this information. So we shared out a reminder about these things in our weekly communications to staff. And the household misfortune is not a new thing. I'm just reminding or putting out a reminder that this is something that we do. We have done it over the years, previous disasters, and we put that information out there. So I'm just using the electronic theft because that is a new thing we're doing, and contrasting it to this because this is something we've been doing before.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Next slide. And so in the presentation, you'll get the different ways that people can contact us to make those requests. And one final slide and one final ask for this group is a reminder.
Antonio, before you go on to the next subject, there's a couple of questions.
I was going to address them in chat because I feel like I'm taking a lot of time.
It is taking some time, but I think it's important we get everybody's questions addressed, and we'll figure out the stuff at the end of the agenda and kind of go from there. But I do want to make sure we definitely answer questions. So maybe Beth first.
Okay, thank you. Two quick things. One, I want to just kind of raise up or amplify what Jessica said in that we've also had the experience where our clients are trying to access some of these processes, and the local staff aren't super well informed about it. And it's a big agency. There's a million changes, so we have a lot of sympathy for how hard it is to get the word out. But I don't know, like maybe some extra reminding or some spot checking, whatever they call it, secret shopper, checking up on offices would be really a good idea. And then a quick question: the skimming, the electronic benefits theft replacement. If people, how are you guys interpreting the date of discovery of the theft? Because one thing I'm finding is that people try to use their card. They have $0 on their card, and they are calling us because they think maybe they've been terminated from the SNAP program and don't know why and didn't get a notice. And then we have to say that is possible, because sometimes it happens. Maybe you missed the notice, maybe it got lost in the mail, or it's possible that you were robbed and people don't always know. So they found out on a certain day that there was $0 on their card, but they didn't know at that point that they had been robbed. How are you looking at that? What do you consider the date of discovery? Is it when you understood, the agency did put $250 on my card, but when I went to access it, there was 0? Or is it when you first realized that there was 0 on there?
So the way we're interpreting is when they realized that they were missing benefits. So they could be the same date, or they could be a different date. When they're at the store and they got their benefits on the 1st, the theft occurred on the 5th, but they actually didn't realize it on the 10th. We're interpreting that the 10th was the date that they discovered they had no benefits.
Okay.
And that's information we're asking that they provide.
The other information, Beth, is really for us to help identify the when versus the attestation of the person as to when they discovered. And it allows us to follow the trail of when was that taken by the person that took the benefits, not when the person who had that loss occur. Because we recognize it's not always known on the same day that something happens. It's reasonable.
Yeah, that makes total sense. It is nuanced though, and I don't know how often. Like my clients aren't so necessarily understanding the difference between those dates, if you know what I mean. So I'm a little concerned concerned about it, but hopefully the staff who are asking the question are really making it clear, that distinction. So thanks though.
No, absolutely. And it is very nuanced. I know it can be really confusing. So I think the more clarity in the simplest of terms that we can have in as many places with as many partners as possible is really important too. And also, you know, I appreciate the understanding around our staff. We're trying to get all of this information out there to them in a really manageable amount as well. We also definitely have, you know, some training for new staff and existing staff that is an ongoing commitment. So I'll take some of this back again around some of the reminders that you've recommended here, and we'll find a way of putting things into maybe some of our newsletters out to our staff, moments where we have some of our policy meetings with staff more on a statewide level. We can put those reminders into those policy meetings as well.
Thank you, Heather. And that's one thing that I forgot to mention. We have been having meetings in regards to the public health unwinding, and that is one setting where we provide information to staff. So we've been using all our different avenues that we have. SNAP has a monthly, what we call Snapchat, where we give staff updates that are SNAP focused, and we provide information and are planning on sharing this reminder. This afternoon, we have a different meeting that we're also sharing information with a different group of staff. So we're trying to use all our different avenues to provide these reminders. And so whenever you give us those you make us aware where pain points exist, we want to make sure that we're being proactive about trying to make sure that staff understand those nuances. I did want to add or explain the benefit amount, how it works. So it depends on so it's based on when the electronic theft occurs and the month or the last issuance prior to that benefit amount. So if I get $100 in August and my benefits are stolen in September, I would use the month of August to compare with the electronic theft amount. So if on August I got $100, I would multiply that times 2 to get the amount that I'm allowed to replace. And depending on whether it's the actual amount is greater or lower than, I choose the lower amount of the 2 of the actual amount stolen, or 2 times the benefit amount prior to the theft.
Thanks,
So,
Antonio.
Gabi, does that help?
Yeah, it does. Thank you so much.
Yeah, okay. And I know it gets nuanced, but let me see. So Misha, do you have any more questions, or can we go to the next slide?
I think we can go to the next one. It looks like there was a staff specific question, and maybe you can reach out to that person after the meeting would be good. Thanks.
The other thing we wanted to ask this group or share with this group is that so when someone applies for benefits for SNAP, we have what we call the filing date. And basically the filing date is it's important because it's what helps guide our timeframes of when we need to process an application and by when we need to make a decision. And so a filing date established when someone comes to us and they make a request for SNAP benefits, and they provide to us their name, their address, and their signature. So this is important because not only does it establish the timeframes that we have to follow, but it also is the starting day when benefits would begin if someone is determined to be eligible for SNAP. So if I apply on the 15 and I'm approved, my benefits would begin from the 15. The longer I wait to establish a filing date, the less benefits I get for that month. So if I go to an office, pick up an application, don't establish a filing date, and wait till the 31st, instead of having benefits begin from the 15, my benefits would begin from the 31st, because that's when I provided my name, address, and signature to the office. And this is either through a paper application or through going online. So that's something that we want to make sure that people are aware of. If you visit an office, attempt to establish a filing date, or when you're making contact with us, you don't have benefits, establish a filing date. One issue that we're having is that when people are establishing filing dates, they often forget to sign or provide us with a signature. And so there's different ways to provide a signature when establishing a filing date, but sometimes people tend to forget. And that's my main message is, one, make sure that people are aware of what a filing date is. And two, make sure that when they're trying to establish a filing date, that they provide us with a signature. Like I said, that signature can be in writing in the application, or they can tell it to us. Right now, we have a waiver for, normally, if we're doing stuff over the phone, we have to have a recording which is connected to a person's case, and that's how they establish a filing date, or through that. But we have a waiver that says a person can tell us that that they are attesting to some information, and we add a case note to their case, so we don't need for them to have that recording. We just put a note on their case saying this person provided us with their verbal attestation of the information they're sharing with us, and we're case noting it, so that's their signature. So any questions about that?
I'm just going to add a little bit in, if that's okay for everyone.
Please, Heather, yes.
It's a lot of information, I know. So the reason that we're mentioning this, and really why we're asking for your help with some of it, is we're in our process of reviewing our applications. We have quality control reviewers that take a look. And some of our own internal staff are taking a look at the application process as part of what we do to ensure integrity of the program. And this is one of those areas that has come up in recent reviews as something that has been missing. And it's one of those things that we're going to be doing some outreach from our side as a state agency to help our customers be aware of all the different ways that they can establish a filing date and include their signature on that process. But we really would love to amplify that information through the partners on this call as well. We know that you're sometimes the first person that they're speaking with about how to access our program. And if you have more of that knowledge about the ways in which they can attach their signature to the application process, that's going to be a really helpful thing right now for you to amplify that message with us at the same time. We're really tracking this one very, very carefully, because this is, I think, one of those paramount areas of concern for us as an agency, is that we don't lose any possible days that individual could have had benefits.
So I'm reading in the chat the question, is there a certain language applicants need to use when talking to case management to attest? And no, basically, if someone is, like I said, if they're trying to establish their filing date, they just need to say, I want to provide you with my name, address, and signature. And staff will know that to collect that signature, if they're doing this over the phone, they would be, they wouldn't be doing a recording right now that the waiver is in place for SNAP. The same thing when they're turning in the application and they're not, for whatever reason, they're not able to provide a full application by establishing the filing date, we can follow up and get the additional information needed. But the signature would need to be on the paper, right? For that to be considered a valid filing date. So basically just saying, I want to provide my signature over the phone if that's the situation. Does that answer your question, Juan? Okay. So I'll give it back to you.
Thanks, Antonio. I believe we are on to Stephanie, who's going to talk a little bit about summer PEBT.
Hi, yeah, thanks, Misha. So hi, everyone. My name is Stephanie Cook. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm a policy analyst with the SNAP team here at ODHS. I just wanted to give a brief update on pandemic EBT for summer 2023. So Oregon has been approved to issue summer 2023 benefits. And we will start to do so here right towards the end of August and through kind of the middle, early September. Eligible children are going to be those school-aged kids who either received free or reduced priced meals at school in this last school year, so the 22-23 school year, or are approved for SNAP benefits at any time between June 1st and August 31st of this year, 2023. Next slide. Susie, are you able to move to the next slide for me? Thank you. Oh, one back. Perfect, thank you. So one thing that has changed with this round of pandemic EBT is unfortunately SNAP children under the age of 6 are no longer eligible. The reason because the public health emergency ended in May of 2023, and it removed the criteria that made those SNAP kids under 6 eligible. So for this school year, or for this summer round, excuse me, it'll only be school-aged children that are eligible for the benefit. The benefit is $120 lump sum, and it's going to be issued onto the same EBT cards that families received for PEBT last summer. So there's a picture here on the screen of that white EBT card with the black writing on it. If it's a brand new child to PEBT this summer, or the family has like lost or disposed of their card, they can always call for a replacement card. The call center is still open, so we ended up keeping it open over the duration. So we haven't had any break in our call center for PEBT being open. So it's still the same phone number, the 1-800-ORE-PEBT, or 1-888-844 673-7328, and they are open from Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. And they can help families with any questions they have about eligibility, or if their school is eligible. They can also help request replacement EBT cards for the families. So I'll pause here for any questions about summer 2023 PEBT.
Stephanie, oh, go ahead.
Am I going out of order? I didn't see if anybody else had a hand up.
No, go for it, Beth.
Okay, a couple quick questions.
Sure.
I'm so sorry. It's like the PEBT criteria have changed so many times. I'm really
so many times.
But now we're back to you can even if you don't have, like, let's say the immigration status to qualify for SNAP, if your kids just were getting free or reduced school meals, you can get PEBT.
Correct. So yeah, if your child was enrolled in a school that does National School Lunch Program, so most of the public schools and then some also the private schools here in Oregon, and then, you know, they filled out the application at school to receive free meals, or they attended one of those community eligible provision schools where all the kids were eligible to receive free reduced meals, they would receive benefits.
That
So
is really good news. I'm so
yeah.
happy that that part is back.
Yeah.
But okay, but now how, so those folks who maybe have not been getting SNAP, so they don't have that EBT card, and maybe they didn't get it last summer for whatever reason,
Mhm.
because there was a period of time when you had to qualify for SNAP to qualify for this.
Right.
How will they even know? Are they just gonna get a card in the mail, one of these cards in the mail loaded with money?
Yeah, so there is going to be a letter, a notice that's sent out to all the children that are eligible for the program. So regardless of if they received it last year and then are again receiving it this year, or only receiving it this year, every child will receive a notice in the mail that says you've been approved for summer 23 benefits. If you received them last year, the money will be issued onto that same card that you received. There's also on the notice, it says, like, if you didn't receive benefits last year, you will be receiving a new card in the mail here within the next, I think it says 7 to 10 business days.
That's also, that's the way people are gonna know if they threw away their old card. They don't
Yes.
have to go to the new one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
So that's
exactly. And our call center is set up and ready to take calls, to reissue cards and go through that process with families.
And the notice is going out in different languages or?
Yes. Yeah. So it goes out in English, Spanish, and then is translated into 6 different languages, depending on their primary language that's reported by the school.
Okay.
Their primary spoken language.
Well, thank you so much.
Okay. Any other questions for summer 23? I'll give a very brief update on school year.
I have a quick question. I don't
Sure,
remember
yeah.
you saying it, so maybe I missed it.
Of course.
The 2023 PEBT, will those schools and students attending those schools that have the community free
Yes,
lunch
eligible.
program, yeah,
Yep.
will they be receiving it as well?
Yes.
Okay.
So if the child attended one of those schools, they're called community eligible provision or CEP schools. And essentially what it is the majority of the students that attend that school are eligible for free reduced meals if they were to apply through application. And so what the USDA does is they make the whole school eligible for free meals. And all of the students that attend those schools are eligible for PEBT.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, sure. And then a just really brief update. I'm just going to give just a quick, I know we have 1 minute left. Just a quick update on pandemic EBT for school year 2022-2023. So the school year we just finished. Oregon has been approved to issue benefits for this school year. We are working with our contractors right now to determine when benefits are going to be issued, but we're anticipating they'll be done in fall of this year, of fall of 2023. So more information to come on that. We're still working out the details, but they are coming and we are approved to issue those. Yeah, Beth.
I'm sorry, I forgot to ask something before, but Stephanie, can you so I'm always worried about our clients who move a lot, right? And especially our migrant farm worker families.
Yes.
So how are you going to be reaching out to like the migrant Head Start, or I guess maybe Head Start is the kids are too little, but there are migrant summer programs. Can they get information so that folks know to affirmatively reach out to you if they're not getting mail because they're not at the same place they were living during this year? And then I'm going to ask, if you're not already doing this, can you track the benefits that you send out, put on cards that don't get used, and maybe, I mean, I just feel like that's really important information to know, like who is accidentally getting left out, despite your best efforts to reach people.
So, and I'm gonna kind of defer or tag Heather into that second question, Beth, about if we can track it. From what I understand is that there are ways to do so, but it's not super simple. But I'm going to tag Heather in because she has greater knowledge about just like checking on EBT balances than I do.
So we are planning on looking at a report at the end of all of this, Beth, and there's some caveats to it. We have to work with our EBT vendor to get to some level of that information, which is a little bit different, but it is a report that we have asked to see at the closeout of all of this. And then there's a part of it where we know that there are some families that have just not wanted to use these benefits at all. Some of them have chosen to opt out, which has meant that we've been able to honor that request from program year to program year since we've put that in place. Some families just don't use it. They literally throw the card away and don't necessarily tell us they want to opt out, but they've not accessed those benefits. Typically with something like that, at the end of that period of time, those benefits are the ones that would be expunged from that card, and they would then go back to the individual, back to our federal partner in terms of the funding. Until that point, they kind of sit ready and available for somebody to use for the period of time that we have those funds available.
Thanks, Heather. We're past time. So I want to honor everybody's time. I know we were planning on doing a breakout session today with some chance to just chat and discuss. And I know how much folks enjoyed and appreciated that last month. I'm so sorry we didn't get to that this month. I know there were some really good questions. There were a lot of updates, and I really wanted to honor those people who had questions in the moment. I hope you don't mind that we chose to go that route. We can absolutely incorporate discussion in our next meeting. Remember that our August meeting is going to be canceled, and we're going to send an e-meeting out, so an email type meeting, so that you can get your updates that way. If there is some feedback that you were really hoping to share today and you didn't get the opportunity to because we had to skip that portion of our meeting, please do send it to me or to Stephanie. The emails are on the screen right now. I'm also putting my email back into the chat again. Looks like I need to update Stephanie's on our PowerPoint. It's got the old email there. But do reach out to us if you're hoping to share some feedback and didn't get the chance to do that today. I didn't want to take that opportunity away from you. So thank you so much for being here and for being so engaged and having great questions. And do reach out if you have further questions that you'd like to ask. Thank you.